Okay. I've started work on getting the paper wrapped around the staircase unit. I made a little mistake there. It tore when I was pressing in. I think I put too much glue on. And remember, when, I'm working with painted newsprint, it's not super, like, strong. And I just got the glue on this one side. And you're probably wondering, what the heck is this? What are we doing here? Um, what is this? What am I looking at? Um, this piece is going to go up the stairs. You can see I'm folding it. It ends right here. I've got a little bit more of this one that I'm going to fold and bring all the way up to the top. But before I do any of that, I'm going to go in and paint these little strips. I don't know. I might come in with paper. I think painting would be a little easier. The little corner strips, because frankly, cutting that so tiny and precisely and getting it to work was just not going to happen. And I want to say, no, it's not over there. But I've got more of this navy blue, this one I really, really love. So I'm just going to come in and do some little spot painting on the corners of each step to make sure that it's completely covered and there's no white popping through. And then I can glue this one on after folding that one. So that's kind of where we are right now. And I'm just using, this is just my regular acrylic on newsprint paper, painting it with a thinned out tacky glue. I think this one's this is more like a 50-50. It's been very humid and damp here, so things are staying liquidy a little longer. So yeah, that's where I am at this point right now with the stairs. Okay. You can see here with the larger staircase, I've gone in and I've added some blue in these corners just to mask. I still need to add a little bit here. The glue wasn't quite dry, so I just left it alone. And then I kind of just went down the entire side just to make sure that it was completely painted. And I think I'll probably come in and do a little tiny bit of painting here and there. But I wanted to show you how I did this. So on the small staircase that goes upstairs, you can see I've got this piece glued in. And what this looked like before was this. Basically, in the easiest explanation is I traced it and then cut it out. And I left enough for these little flaps. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my bone folder and a clear ruler. And I put something, this is some gray board underneath to cushion it a little bit. And I'm just going to come in and score where I want to fold everything. And with this kind of paper, you have to be a little careful that you're not scoring too deeply, because you can push straight through the paper. I've been wondering about maybe other methods that I could use. I think I'm going to try taking some of the newsprint, and laminating it together. And when I say laminating, I mean I'm just going to use a thin glue to glue two pieces of newsprint together. Get something a little beefier. So now you can kind of see a very faint outline of where those folds are. And that's all I want. It's just encouraging things to fold where I want them to fold. And you can see they go pretty easily. I don't use the bone folder on this side because it will scuff the paint in a way that I don't like. So now you can see I've got this little piece that's just ready to go and will go right on top. And from here, I just use some of the glue and a brush and attach everything down, which is not difficult at all. Let's see. I want to show you about how much I use. And I start with the side. Oh, there's something gross right there. I start with the side. There it is. Let me get that off. it's one of those things where you want to put just enough on there that it's a little glossy, but you're not flooding the area so things are dripping, if that makes sense. Because what I want is I want this to grab hold pretty quickly. And you can see I'm checking in different areas to make sure that everything is fitting the way that it should. And then I really press down. And I'm not having too much of a heart attack about any little bits of glue you can see here, because I'm going to cover this with some varnish and that will disappear. So now what I can do is, you can see where this is the little flap. I kind of get into this corner a little bit, but I put most of it right here along the edge and then fold it over. And yes, that went right into my mouth. That's just how I do it. That's how I roll here. And press this one down. That's where all those little bits of glue come from. If I were a much more careful painter, sorry about that. I don't think it would do that. See, this is a little bit too much glue. When I start seeing pools of white, that's too much glue. What's that little booger thing? Press this down. And you can see it's laying down nice and flat. And then I'll just do the same thing going all the way up the sides. And then I'll come in and get rid of all of these little pieces here. Now, when the little pieces, what I mean is the little white areas. That's not really that hard to get rid of. I'm using a teeny tiny little brush. But I'm using, this is that paint that I like. It's Royal Navy. It's not navy blue. It's Royal Navy. It leans a little teal. So we're looking at that little area right there. I'm basically just taking a little tiny bit of paint and I'm painting a little bit of it along that edge. And any place where I think it might be seen, I'm painting along this little edge just because I know that light might strike this, and I would rather these all be kind of the same shade of blue, if that makes sense. And sometimes I kind of have to move things around to get this in here. But you can kind of see it'll all be covered up and I won't have those little annoying bits of white showing through. So that is working on the stairs, and I'm gonna come back in the next part of this and then show you how I'm folding these and we'll be gluing them on. Okay, you can see on this main set of stairs that's going to go down on the first level, and I really didn't have to finish this stuff. This is why this isn't finished out. I've gotten the image that I want on the treads and the risers done. Now, for the little stairs, I'm going to be using a little piece that's left from that. And basically all that I did was I cut it to the correct width, placed it on the bottom step, and started folding. And I'd stop and I'd make sure it was in there, correctly folded in there as well as I could get it in there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how I glue all this in place. Now, because this is carton board, remember I'm going to use just some regular tacky glue because I really want to make sure this holds down. And you can see I've got the paint in there already. So I'm just adding in, let's say this much. One of the reasons I'll stop on a riser instead of a foot is because it's easier to get the glue on there. And I'm going to come in with a brush, and I'm going to kind of make sure that glue is in there and is all smooshed and smeared around because I want it to hold. I'll put that in there. So now all I have to do is press it in. Now, because this is carton board, it's a little, There's a little bit more of a polish to it. It's the point, it's called calendaring, which I have no idea why it's called calendaring. Calendaring is when they take paper and they put it through the rollers, like big, heavy rollers, and they polish and weight down the paper for it's the type of paper for commercial consumption like this. Because you can see this has a bit of a sheen to it. I'm trying to be really careful where I'm bending things, because I don't want it to crack or look really gross. So now you can see I've got this kind of hanging out, and it's much easier for me to kind of hold this back a little bit, get a little bit more glue in here that I can smear around. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go all the way up here, all the way to the top, get that out of the way, and get in there. I'm going all the way to the edges, and I'm trying to get into all the little nooks and crannies because I don't want this to pop up. I don't want it to bubble. And this tacky glue is perfect for that. Now, what am I going to do? Okay. And make sure it's in there. And you can see the paper, move a bit as I put it down. Now, you're probably wondering, why is there this giant hole here at the top? Well, this piece of paper that I had left over had like a weird little chunk out of the side. And I decided I didn't want just the little chunk. Not putting that in my mouth, and I'll trim that later. Because I would rather this look as though I meant it to look like this than not. So what I did was I came in with one of the little scraps that's left and cut it at a right angle, cut in another right angle here, and now I can just butt them up against each other. So what I'm going to do is, while this glue is nice and wet, I'm going to get it in here and butt them right up against each other. So now, instead of there being a bump, because this is such thick carton board, it's just a seam that goes right over the right next to each other. Now, this looks a bit weird and a little funky right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait for it to dry, and then I will come in and cut the tabs off here. I'll draw them in where I'll be cutting them. I will be cutting tabs there and probably there. So this area will all be cut out, and then these will be folded down. Well, that one won't be folded down. That doesn't need to be there. I'll just cut that off. But I'll fold the tabs down, and you notice that I take the tab. This is going against a wall and a floor, so I'm taking this tab in a little bit so there's no accidental popping out like that. This is kind of an easy fix. I prefer not to do it that way though. There is one problem I noticed that I hadn't accounted for, is that there's a white edge along here that I don't think I like. That's the edge of the paper. And I'd show you if I had it done, if I had it out, but right now I have the kitchen and the living room walls under weights in the other room. On those pieces, I went in and used a paint pen to just go right along the edges, and it just dulled it down. Now the problem with this is I could use black if I wanted to, but I don't think it's going to look good. So I think I need to use another color of paint. It doesn't look so bad here because this is white and it's right against this like barely cream color here. So that looks fine. But it's a lot more prevalent on the sides where there are pinks and yellows and things like that. So I'm going to have to try to figure out how I want to cover that up. And it could be something that that I just haven't thought of yet, which is probably what it is. So you can see these are the little steps that now go up. And I may be putting some other things here, and same thing here. I have the steps that are going up, and I have these areas here that I can put things on. I've got this already wrapped, and the wall for this is already wrapped as well. So that is everything to do with stairs. These stairs came together really incredibly quickly. I'm gonna have to fix that too. You can see it kind of looks gross. And I'm very pleased with them. Sorry, I just had a burp there. So in the next video, hopefully you'll be seeing what the bottom floor looks like, because I'm working on the bottom floor floors, which then means I can attach the back soon. Trying to go, what is it? Smooth is slow and slow is fast or something or other. It was something that smooth is fast or smooth is slow as I don't know what the heck it is. I'm trying not to rush myself and make stupid mistakes. So thank you, patrons, and I will see you in the next video.